Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Everybody, happy Monday.
Is it Monday again?
It is. It's another week.
What happened to the weekend?
I don't know.
Where'd it go?
I don't know. But we have just a couple weeks before the conference.
No, a week.
Is it next week?
It's next week, hon.
Is it really?
Yeah, you can better start packing your suitcase.
You know how long it takes me to pack.
Yeah.
So that sounds like it's time. I was out all week long last week. And so, maybe that's the reason why, because I wasn't in the home office for the week, but had a great visit with my brother and did lots of yard work and other stuff.
Yeah.
Whilst there, it's good.
We're quite enjoying our space here in Utah. It's such a nice time of year. I mean, it's getting warm, and we're just kind of tucked away just enough to be able to have a little bit of shade and cool up on the mountainside, and so it's been wonderful. Yeah, it's been nice.
It has. It's really been nice. Last night we had some of our neighbors over for an evening cocktail, turned on the misters, and it was just lovely out there. It was so nice.
Super nice.
Watching the sunset.
Well, a couple of updates for me. We got 2 V8 meetings this week. If you're one of those dealers in that 500 to 2,000 account category and you're contemplating, I'm afraid you snoozed a little too long. I closed the composite already for the June meeting with that group 2, as we call it. Group 1 is later in the week. So if you're in that 100 to 500 account range, and we still got time to get you in there for one of the June meetings. So that's it from updates from my side.
I don't think I have anything except you're going to be moderating a panel on Thursday of next week. Next week,
and I'm reaching out to all of our panelists today. We've got I got some input from Mr. Richard Tucker, who we were fortunate enough to get to know recently, and he brings a lot of experience on the
topic of
matter of dealers buying and selling, like mergers and acquisitions, and Richard represents folks on the seller side, and so it's been interesting to be able to chat with him going into this panel, to be able to have his perspective, and so I look forward to bringing that. We've got really great panelists for that session. It's on Thursday. It's one of the, I think it's a session.
It's one of the last ones.
Yeah, I think it's late morning or whatever. But
so don't leave early. Stay for that, because I know a lot of our viewers are ones that are newer or kind of just been around for 5 or so years. It's still a really great idea to understand what exit strategies look like, because there's usually a lot of work that's involved by dealers to get prepared for that. But it's all of those things that you need to prepare for that are really helpful and healthy for a dealership of all ages. So, so everyone, if you don't leave early. Don't book your flight to leave early, but stick around for that one, because that's going to be got some really great people on the panel too. So
no, it's good. I think we should get to our distinguished guest.
All right. Well, here he is. Good morning, Gordy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, guys.
It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
It's always great to have you here. And I got to tell you, Gordy, one of the things that's on my mind this morning as you come to the podcast is that we recognize that of all of our guests, you've had the most bad luck with technology from our side.
It's usually us.
Back in the beginning, we had sessions with poor Gordy. We're sitting there recording for 10 minutes, and then we find out, there's a cord unplugged that we didn't,
that initial interview we did with you, I think, did we do it 2 or 3 times? And it was like not like
at least twice,
back, but it was like we did it one day, and then it's like, can we do this again?
I bring it up because for those who don't know Gordy, it was just a testament to his patience and even demeanor, and so we're grateful.
Thank you.
And, it's fun no matter what. We're sooner or later we're just gonna have to create a direct link, because that's the only way to. Well, no, that some will go wrong with that too, I suppose.
Well, and this morning you sent us a text message that says, "Phones are out. They have been all weekend long, but the internet's on, so we should be good." So we're like, all right, the fates have changed, and it's gonna be a great day.
We're keeping our fingers crossed. Whatever happens, you know, the old hubcap of life over here behind my shoulder, it just keeps going around no matter what. So
yeah, right. Amen. Yeah. So we're grateful for you making time to talk. Obviously, as we head into the conference, that's a pivot point for you. You're wrapping up your tenure as president. Before we go into the presidency, I want you to take me back in the years that you served on the board. You've been on the board for many years. So you want to tell us about that background?
I've been on, gosh, I was asked to begin in, golly sakes, I think it was somewhere around 2010. I've been on for about 12 years.
Okay.
And so as chairman this coming year, that'll be my 13th and final year.
So like you get retired.
I do.
After your 13 years. Is that do most people on the board kind of just rotate in?
They kind of cycle through and it depends on the experience and the slots available. Ironically, a lot of it is dependent on where we need a regional vice president, or in terms of how a person starts on the board, because you need people in each region. And so depending on how folks advance, that creates vacancies or not. But I've been a regional vice president, I think a grand total of 5 years, and 2-year increments, and then they'd move you someplace else. I've been secretary, I've been treasurer, I've been executive vice president, and then president-elect, president, and then chairman. So it's most folks don't get quite that long a run. There's a limited time that you can serve on the board.
What is that? Just out of curiosity.
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
So, and I was kind of grandfathered in because I was moving into the chairs where you would normally not be elected from that point forward. And I was fine if they'd have moved me off. That'd have been okay. I mean, it's, it doesn't depend on who the guy is. It depends on the association and its influence. Okay. But they decided they wanted me. Texas went up and introduced a motion to grandfather anybody that was already on the board, and so that encompassed me.
Nice.
So, and I'm grateful for that. It's been a lot of fun. There've been days I scratched my head, but it's a good thing.
Yeah. So Michelle and I are planning to be at the session on Monday afternoon where the swearing in happens or what have you. But can you take me through quickly on is this number of regions the same as the number of board seats? Is that how that works? How many are there?
Not entirely. There are 4 regions.
Okay.
So, and 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. And there are 2 vice presidents that serve as regional vice presidents at large.
Okay.
So they're kind of in I guess for lack of a better title, they're in training and so forth, and will ultimately probably wind up representing their regions as well. But it gives us a little broader board. It gives us a chance to balance out the national perspective in terms of where these folks come from and so forth, so that every dealer's heard.
Yeah. And that's great.
Did I hear there are 6 board members then?
There are 6 regional vice presidents. Then there's a secretary, a treasurer, a first vice president, a president-elect, president, and chairman.
Okay.
All
right. You got a pretty good group there. All right.
Absolutely.
So very good. But yeah, we just want to take a moment to obviously acknowledge your service to the industry over these years.
Yeah.
And we know that you're highly paid, right? For all of that, right? So,
well, Jeff Martin did buy me a donut once.
Okay, was it a maple donut?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
That's our own joke over here. But no, we know those are volunteer positions. So I just want to take a moment to express that gratitude. We know you're not finished over there. There's more work still to do, but we just want to take a moment today to acknowledge your efforts.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. It's a high honor. It really is. And I've enjoyed, like I said, 99.9% of it. It's been really, really good.
So. Well, I mean, you can't have everything all roses and all of that. And so, but it's just over the last years, we've seen a lot of things shift and change, and we've gone through during your tenure. We have had 2 new executive directors. And so, that's quite a transition to see.
It's actually 3.
3.
When I came on, Mike Lynn was still in charge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Steve Jordan he wasn't a new guy. He was around. So he had been built up to handle that position. But yeah.
Yeah. That in itself is an awful lot, because the board has a lot to orchestrate, oversee, whatever of them
board governance is an entirely different animal than running your business, and it's hard for folks to come on the board and just instantaneously understand how that works. It takes a little while to get used to it, but it's a good thing.
So I want to get around to talking about the conference. First, I want to just back up and have you take us through your year as president. Like I know you had the board and the association had some initiatives. You want to kind of give us an update on kind of looking back over the last 12 months or so?
And I'll start this out because you were nice enough to give me a hint on what we might talk about. So that
doesn't happen all the time. So.
The words "not sexy" come to mind. Okay, and as you alluded to, we've had changes in leadership, and that caused some kerfuffles and a lot of different things occurring. In the association between COVID and the last regime that was in charge before Jeff really wasn't in great financial shape. So the first thing was start cutting budgets and trying to get our feet on the ground per se. Jeff Martin, by the way, has been masterful in doing that. He really has. He is an outstanding leader.
Sure.
It was hard. Staff was cut and some other things were trimmed back and so forth. He's done far more work for the dealer association than a CEO should do. And really deserves kudos for that. He's done a really, really good job. So things were cut back. Many dealers didn't see me as much as I thought they might as a president just because of that. We trimmed the travel budget. And so, the state associations, when they'd have a convention, they were offered either me or Jeff, and Jeff's kind of the new thing, and he certainly knows everything about our industry. So I didn't have to travel as much, which is something that Lori is very happy about. Yes, she had me around anymore. But I got to a few state conventions, and that was just delightful to actually just go nose to nose with dealers and talk about the industry and everything else and what affects them and their business and so forth. It's really been outstanding. Good. So, but beyond that and getting that out of the way, we got the financial house a little bit more in order, and it's started to build up. We've had deficits in terms of cash flow over the last 2 or 3 years, and now we're gonna have a positive year. It's not gonna be huge, but it's the first step of many to get it moving in the right direction again. So I'm super pleased about that.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Along the way, thank you. Well, it doesn't. I don't get the credit. It's the board. It's Jeff. It's all the rest of the folks that are really doing all the hard work. But, along with that, we've managed to keep a pin on the board on some of the things that we believe are very important long-term to our dealers. Things like certified pre-owned, certified master dealer training. We managed to bring together the dealer performance groups and NIADA 20 groups into one cohesive group and gotten everybody on the same wavelength. That's worked quite well, and we're really, really happy with that. Matter of fact, now we're seeing steady growth in 20 groups, which I'm very, very pleased with.
Nice.
Let's see what else is on my list here. I think a big one, we did some committee work and so forth, which is always kind of down in the weeds, but we restructured things like the awards process. I think dealers that come to the convention will find that happens more rapidly and is well, frankly, not as boring as maybe it may have been over the years because it doesn't take so long, but still is inspirational. You see the outstanding things that our quality dealers are doing and things of that nature. So that's real good. In terms of compliance has been a real big thing. And I don't want to go too far off in the weeds unless you ask me to, but we've got a government situation where these folks are being pretty aggressive, particularly right now, the Federal Trade Commission. They came out with this CARS rule, combating automotive retail scams. I have a problem even saying that because I just don't buy into what they're trying to do. But it certainly, and we've talked about it ad nauseum throughout the year, but it stands, if passed and really brought in as an active regulation, this thing's going to turn up our industry, just turn it upside down. And so we've done a lot of work there. And again, under Jeff's direction, we filed a 39-page amicus brief in support of the New Car Dealer Association, who is suing the Federal Trade Commission for having not followed their own darn processes in terms of trying to talk and get industry feedback and things of that nature. So if you want some really good reading, I'm telling you, just riveting 39 pages.
39 pages.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'll see to it that you get a copy. So that you
good.
It'll be like a 7-part thing from the podcast. We're going to read pages 1 through 7 today.
Yeah. You should put some nice bedtime music along with that, Michelle. That'd be the thing. But honestly, it's filled with whereases and heretofores, but at the same time, it's really, really critical stuff.
Sure.
Because our free market functions pretty well, and we want it to continue that way. So that's a real important thing. On a personal note, one of the things that I did with some tremendous other dealers and vendors who volunteered was we put together the Fellowship of Christian Auto Dealers event last year. And we had not quite 100 people showed up to watch Rhett Walker put on a music concert for us. That will continue this year. On Tuesday night at the convention, we'll have an evening of comedy with comedian Jeff Allen, who is just outstanding. He's been a comedian for decades and is just hilarious, and also has a really good story to tell. So we're looking forward to that. So a lot of good stuff going.
And that's
I guess when I think about my year,
is that a free event?
Absolutely no charge whatsoever. Just, if you want to have a good clean evening and get away from the Vegas-y part of things, you have that option.
Oh, very nice.
So
very nice.
And he'll be around afterwards to meet and chat with too. He's got a book that he's hawking a little bit, so we'll have some fun with him, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Love it. Yeah, that's a big step. That's a nice thing.
You were in the middle. I interrupted you, and I apologize for that.
Well, I was trying to characterize my term as president, and we had to do a lot of pruning. That wasn't any fun. We've done an awful lot of planting, and we want down the road in years to come for dealers and other board members to reap the benefit of that planting. They can harvest what we've sown. That's kind of how I look at my term. And there are some good things going on that you'll hear. There's a rather big announcement that will occur at the convention, maybe 2 of them. And there's some stuff for the fourth quarter that's coming on. We've got some planning in terms of how we're going to take control of our data and use that to the advantage of our dealers, some things of that nature. So it's good times. I mean, it's been kind of a pain in the neck, and not the normal, hey, he's the president, look at him, kind of. It's been less of that type of a term and more of a working term, and we've gotten some things done. I'm very pleased with that.
Good.
Oh yeah,
that sounds wonderful.
We could tell there was some rolling up of the sleeves going on over there, and we knew obviously there was work to do, and you had a capable CEO and Jeff Martin, and so you guys were able to.
Well, and I do appreciate, when you were talking about the CARS rule and FTC and all of that, that there have been such tremendous inroads made with governmental and agencies that they are attending, that they're, there to meet dealers. They're coming to the conference. And so what government organizations will be there this year?
Off the top of my head, we're going to have the CFPB.
Okay.
And Federal Trade Commission and the IRS. Okay. There may be more, but I'm quite certain those 3 will be there.
So it's a great. Are they there the whole time, or are they just kind of like?
I believe so. I mean, they tend to cut out when they can because they're maybe fearful of having contact with people. but they'll be there to answer the questions, and in particular, the folks from CFPB have been pretty friendly about, answering questions and what their intent is and how things are working out. So that's.
Are they going to have a session, a panel this year?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And so, it's great. It's really great. The work that's been done with the governmental and agencies, that they have been invited and they are taking the time to be amongst the dealers and to see the things like what kind of education are we getting, and just all of the things, and it just says an awful lot to me that they're coming, and that they there's a relatively friendly relationship with
there is. And gosh, Michelle, if you think back to the origins of NIADA, it and NADA both started in a hotel in Chicago in 1946. And we were combating legislation. Some genius thought that it was important that used vehicle prices be regulated by the federal government. And it's been that way ever since. And so it's highly important that to grow the influence of your association, to make sure dealers are well represented and protected from stuff that might be well intended but sure doesn't make sense in our marketplace, that we have a seat at that table. And so I'm delighted that these folks know who we are, and they're listening and they're paying attention. It's really important.
Absolutely. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to hear from you about the again, your unique position, having served in that capacity as long as you have. I wonder what you would share about the outlook for being a used car dealer. We can talk about the independent retail space and buy here, pay here separately if you have different viewpoints on those. But yeah, I just want to hear from somebody who's been inside the weeds, as you call it. What do you feel like is the outlook for being a used car dealer?
Well, first of all, Jim, I just want to thank you. And I really, truly appreciate the fact that you should call it a perspective rather than saying, because you're so old.
Right. I know better. I don't want Michelle doing that to me. So yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, don't give her ammunition.
I thought that when you started talking about the hotel conversation in 1946, I thought you were going to
say I was there.
No, Gordy, you weren't there. Yeah. I
really wasn't.
Yeah.
I do have an interesting perspective, I guess, because our family started in the car business in 1940. We're 84 years in. Okay. Wow. And I've been at it for over 50 years now. In August, it'll be 51. And nice. So it does things to, how you look at it. In terms of the broader perspective, we think, business may not be so great right now because of the way things are in the economy and all the rest of it. But I can remember the recession of 60 that my dad told me about. And then there was, 73 and then 78 and then 82. And then it just kept going. It seems like we always have this, and where the market is not always just rock solid stable.
When you bring up like the 70s and all of that, I remember, and I was just a young pup when it had to have been really, really difficult for used car dealers when interest rates were, you're getting a mortgage for more than 25% interest rate. And so it had to, and like gas lines down the road. I remember I grew up in Seattle, and that they would have billboards that said last one out, turn off the lights, because Boeing, they were shutting down production and all of that. So the industry has seen this, like you said, it's been rough and good and rough and good. And so when I hear people say this is the worst, or it's like, probably not.
Well, it's the worst in the last 10 years or whatever, it's important to maintain a deeper perspective than just what's happening this year.
Yes.
Okay. Last year was meh for us, and it's about the same this year in our dealership. Prior to that, I had 3 record-breaking years. Nice. And so you got to kind of tie that together, and when you average it out, things are okay.
Sure.
So would I like it to be better? Heck yes. And there certainly are challenges, but the thing to remember, and this may be part of what's occurring with the membership of NIADA as well as the attendance of the convention. I failed to mention that our membership is up 5%.
Nice.
Excellent.
Year. And we're on track that by end of year, we hope to get 14,000. That's really that's the goal. And then just keep it moving from there. Awesome. It's been a while since we've had that kind of growth.
Yeah.
But
it's JYSA, join your state association. Hashtag JYSA, join your state association.
Maybe we just picked up one more. So.
Yeah.
It all makes a difference. It really does.
We just keep chipping
but
on.
It's also important that dealers have that representation, and they have access to not only representation with the government, but also training and new concepts, data, industry insights and analysis, things of that nature are critical to forming your operation. When it's not great, things slow down. You need to take the time to make yourself stronger, to cut the expense that was nice, but you don't need to do it, and really get lean. And then as times begin to change, which they inevitably will, now you're poised to really hit the gas and make profits and succeed. And that's really what that's about.
Sure.
So my perspective is very, very positive for the long term of the industry. For there to be anything really critical that would harm us or affect us, you'd have to have a point where people gave up on the concept of transportation.
Yeah.
You're not, and there's no politician that's going to tell somebody they can't go someplace when they want to. They will rebel, and that politician will go bye-bye. It's, we're Americans, and we're hooked on freedom, and we want the freedom to go where and when we want to. And so, beyond that, I think, we're in a time right now where it's fairly obvious that our government is rather manipulative. And you see that in political actions. You see that in regulation. We're getting hints now that the CFPB may be sending out letters of inquiry later on this year. So they're all emboldened, and they think that's what they have to do is control and manage the marketplace. That's never worked in the history of mankind, because, just like a fella can't control his wife, you can't control the marketplace.
What?
They're individual, free-minded. Jim, I know you're shocked.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Lori is listening, so I'm putting it out there. I'm not in control.
Yeah.
But it's, people have their own independence, and they're going to do what they can to protect that. And so, that really helps stabilize our industry to a degree long term. That doesn't mean there can't be ups and downs, but and that's where you have an association to represent you, so that we can minimize the down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I don't hear it enough, Gordy. Like, from my perspective over here, we've seen dealers struggle. I mean, we're working with dealers out there in the trenches, buy here, pay here is all we do. And so we're working with these dealers who do their own financing. And we're seeing a lot of dealers really, have some struggles. And while I was concerned coming off of COVID and, what we saw happen, dramatic change in car cost and obviously prices then to the consumer, I was concerned about what that bubble might look like, as in the couple years behind. It feels like the lenders are cooperating with the dealers and, working through that stuff together. And so that part's been good. And my own perspective is just that it looks like those dealers who have some footing right now in buy here, pay are positioned to do quite well. As you said, folks are still going to need transportation. My guess is there are always going to be some folks around who don't manage their credit very well. And so there's always going to be folks who need that kind of help. And I just always think about it. It feels like to me in the regulation part of it is that dealers who provide that buy here, pay here financing don't really get enough collective credit for the problem that they solve in the marketplace. They step up and take a risk where nobody else is prepared to go. And I think they just need a little more credit for that. Now, do some of them operate in a kind of a black hat manner, sort of an unscrupulous manner? We see some of that, but we see a whole lot of dealers out there doing it right and trying to do right by the consumer. And I think that just doesn't get talked about enough. And I'm just saying we see it. And I think we certainly are grateful to the association. Of course, we're members and we want to support the association because we see the important work that they do, for dealers. And I just think the work that dealers do is important, in the buy here, pay here segment.
Yeah,
it really is. And where you see it more than anything else, Jim, is you see it in repeat and referral business.
Yep.
When you treated someone with respect and you've done the right thing, and they've won in that transaction in terms of getting transportation that they needed, that is safe and affordable for their budget and everything else, then they show their thanks by coming back.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate to have that happen for decades now. We got customers just continue to come back and buy vehicles from us when they probably don't need buy here, pay here anymore, but we're their guys.
They know you and they trust you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I remember, and one of the reasons that we certainly enjoy hanging around with you, I know we see a lot of the world the same way in terms of customer relations. And you were one of the first people on our podcast to use the word transactional, which we think about, but the word doesn't get used enough. And so when you think about a business relationship that is transactional versus something that's, relationship based like what you do, you're also, by the way, the first person I think on the podcast in 300 plus episodes to use the word kerfuffle. I don't think anybody has said that on the podcast. So I wrote it down.
Please don't ask me to spell it out.
No, it's good.
Kerfuffle. Can you put that in a sentence, please?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I was on this podcast and I kerfuffled.
That's funny. I think for us, I feel like he's covered the parts that I was looking forward to talking about. The conference, obviously, your attendance is up. We're headed out there. We're looking forward to seeing all the. So you want to throw that up
Lori,
there?
You're
Lori's
awesome, Lori. Kerfuffle. Kerfuffle.
Yes,
that's fun.
My grammar Nazi is on duty.
Jim's that one for us because I say words and he's like, I'm not so sure that's a real word.
Yeah. I quit looking at it. Yeah. No, it's so we should let you get on to your work. I know we're grateful for you making time. We look forward to seeing you at the Wynn Hotel. I'm sure folks can still jump on a plane and get to the conference. It starts registration check-in, I think, is a week from today, Monday.
Correct.
So dealers can certainly get there. At a minimum, they can expect to hear from Jim and Michelle in the weeks and months to come, asking them to join their state association because we know how important that is. And we know, this is just for those who are not familiar, when you join your state association, there's a portion of that supports the national. And so you become a member of the National Association by joining at the state level. And so we just want to see dealers get on board with that.
And that money goes to such good things.
Sure.
Because that's where part of the funds for the fight that's being fought at Capitol Hill comes from. And so regardless of whether or not you're in your state association, they're out there fighting the fight. And so, it's worth the not so much money. I mean, it's $500, $600 a year.
Not even that. In most cases, Michelle, it runs between 3 and 5. And,
so
what you're getting for that, in addition to the national membership, is you're getting a state executive director and staff that is supporting you on a state basis. And so there's a board of directors for each state as well. And they're monitoring legislation in your state, making sure that things are on at really where they ought to be. I mean, just lately they're fighting GPS legislation in Illinois, and there's been several pieces of legislation to stop the practice of being able to crush a car or scrap it while there's still an active lien on it.
Right.
Things of that nature. And that's what your state associations are doing, are supporting you that way. They help you with licensing questions and issues. They're there for you, and
absolutely
much needed.
That's such a small number, 3 to 500. Can you even get spark plugs for that anymore? I don't know. You do
well, and talking about spark plugs is one of the things that the national and state organizations have done. Is you join and you get a plethora.
Oh, did you say plethora?
I did say plethora.
That means a lot.
Okay, man, this is like a vocabulary lesson here today. This is cool.
You get a whole arsenal of things that will save you that and more. Whether it be for parts or, you get onto the national website and there's just a whole list of, these are all of the organizations that have given some kind of a discount or a freebie or whatever to members of NIADA.
They recover that almost.
Even if there's not a discount or a freebie, these are the most credible vendors in the industry. These are folks that have been, they get vetted. They're other dealers that use them. They're the folks that you want to do business with if you can, because they're stable.
Yeah.
We talk about that too, and we can put out a mention on Wednesday of where folks can expect to find the White Hat Way founding sponsors, because they're out there certainly trying to do some extra good stuff, and so we want folks to know who they are and where to find them. But we'll save that for Wednesday. We'll let you jump.
Good segue, Jim.
Yeah, that's right.
Word.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That one. So we again appreciate you making time. It's always good to spend some time with you, and we look forward to seeing you and the rest of the crew down there.
Yeah, we believe she will be. Okay. Yes,
well,
there will be Lori Savings.
We'll be looking forward to seeing her and saying hello.
Yeah.
So
looking forward to it. It's been a fast year, guys. It really has, but it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate all your efforts, and we shall see you at the win.
All right.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you so much. If you want to stick around for just a second, if you've got the time, so we can say a proper goodbye when we're done.
That works for me.
We'll see you. Yeah. So, okay. Cool. Then
to the dealers that are watching, good selling. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks. All righty.
I couldn't help but think when he was talking about the agency folks kind of stepping out in between their stuff, I thought, I wonder if they're worried that dealers are going to try to sell them a used car. Could that be part of the thing? Yeah. No, it's just, obviously it's a wonderful environment. We always enjoy reconnecting with people at these conferences. It's hard to help people understand. And I've written some articles about what people miss by not attending these conferences. And we just think it's really important that folks get there. It's just, there's so many benefits associated with being there.
Well, besides the education, you've got the expo. So all of the new things that can help your dealerships.
Sure.
So that, and I believe that they're full, which is a very large expo at this one. And also just the conversations that happen and the people that you meet. It's been really fun going to different conferences and sitting at a lunch table and, starting or participating in a conversation where there's a new dealer there and there's a very seasoned dealer, and they're exchanging information and asking, the new dealers asking some hard questions for them, but for a seasoned dealer, it's like, oh, well, that's an easy one. Let me help you. Yeah, it's some of the best fantastic
nuggets and best connections happen.
It's worth every dime to come to the national conference.
Yep,
absolutely.
Yep. Well, we should jump.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate all of your support. It's Monday. Like Gordy said, happy selling. Have a fantastic week. We will see you on Wednesday on White Hat Wednesday. We already have a topic chosen. And we're excited, all of you that will be there at the national conference. Please find us and say hello. And we just, we really appreciate your support. And hope you guys have a great Monday.
Yeah, have a great week.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.